Welcome back to this next episode of We Give a Shit podcast. If you're a family business and you really want to understand what that's like, or the trials and tribulations of what it's like being in family business, my guest today, there's no better person to hear that from. I'm going to welcome him now. He's my dad, Ian Hassall, top bloke. Dad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Charles. That's very kind. That was a big build-up. Let's hope that it actually sort of, people like it.
You know, it's only right as well that we wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and
very much so to all our work colleagues, to all our friends and family,
customers, suppliers, everybody that supports
everyone
the business.
that's has touched on Falcon. You brought something to the table, and that we thank you dearly.
So I wanted to start off really with why we do the podcast. It's about people who really give a shit about what they do and how they turn up and how they show up and being passionate and gritty and determination.
Yeah.
But for you at the start of your career, and I suppose I want to go back a little bit further than that to when you were growing up and what that was like for you and how you became what you did in the end. But what was that at the start? What was it like growing up as a child?
I think again, we go back quite a few years now. I'm sort of the older git, so we're going back to the early 50s when I sort of was born. Different time. Completely different time. And as I've got older, I've actually sort of reflected on that as well. I was fortunate to be brought up in a family that did give a shit. My gran used to look after me. My mum and dad worked very hard. My dad actually sort of ended up working and setting up a business while he was working for somebody else because he got ambition. And I think, Charles, that's where you get it from. Not necessarily from me. I always wanted to be successful, but not necessarily believing that I could be. So, but my dad was very sort of ambitious. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea.
Sounds familiar.
Well, there is there's some traits that I'm sure they've been on the podcast before, where Charles is both feet. But it was great. We didn't have a lot of money. But then, when you start off in life, you don't. But you've got a passion and you've got a hope that things will improve. And I think, during that time, my gran was a great supporter. Nanny Withers, she was a lovely lady. And I think she had a grounding on me that has set me up for where we are now. Be kind. Consider people. Make sure that they, that they are. You make them your friend, because that's what I think this is all about. And I think from then on, we just moved. Went to school. Wasn't great at school, I have to say.
Played a lot of sport.
I played a lot of sport. Yeah. I sort of played a decent amount of football. Tried my hand at golf, which I'm still doing. So that just shows you.
We were just chatting about how shit you were yesterday.
I know. How crap I was yesterday. Nothing improves. Remember, when you're trying to play golf, it really is tough. But yeah, it was sort of. I enjoyed my sport, and it was something that I felt that I was good at. I wasn't particularly good at maths and physics and those sort of stuff. But I've always been, as I feel, a genuine sort of person, and I'm a people's person. So for me, I guessed I'd be able to get on in life because I was pleasant enough with folks and was honest with them. And I think you have to be. Or you've got to have a good memory if you're a liar, that's for sure. So yes, moving on from that, as I started to grow up, and as I say, school wasn't. I finished school. I went on for a fifth year, but it was a bit of a waste of time. I think it's a bit like sometimes people go to university now and they come out with a degree and they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So
They just don't go into that profession.
no, they
It
don't.
happens a lot.
Yeah, they don't. So I always wanted to be a commercial artist, but I wasn't good enough. Was basically what it was.
You were good though. I mean,
I'm
Alex
all right.
has just pulled you downstairs. About,
I know
you
I've got to do Santa again,
you gotta
but
draw
but
Santa
no,
on
I always enjoyed art, but I wasn't that good to be a commercial artist. But I was fortunate that there was a local studio called Hilton Studios just on the outskirts of Lichfield, and they were looking for a trainee calligrapher. So I went to see Alfred C. Foley. I always remember his name. It was my first job. I was 16. They paid me £5 and a tanner for a week's work, and it was really enlightening. He was a lovely lad. The studio itself did mostly. It worked on books of remembrance, which you obviously, if you've gone to a church or that, there's usually a large book where people have inscriptions done, and I did that, for about 3 years, learning the calligraphy and the art of heraldry, and I enjoyed it. It was great.
Is that where you learnt to like go and do the golf boards and stuff eventually?
Yeah, it was. It was because I'd always been. I could always draw, and I could always sort of. My writing, as people will say now, they can't understand it.
Yeah.
It's very,
but it's not.
It's very simple, but yeah, people do. They do struggle with it.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a piece of cake.
What does this say?
That's right. I'm sure you get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
Can you just look at this plan? It's from about 20 years ago. What does it say on it? Because I can't read the bloody thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. So that was my first job, and then during that was in '68. So
then didn't you end up going to work for Grandad?
I did. I moved from the studio. Our dad approached me and said, would I come into the business? I had a bit of trepidation when that was, because it was engineering.
Yeah.
I wasn't technically minded. I could draw. I could do technical drawing, but I wasn't technically minded at all. So.
And he asked you?
He did. He asked me, he said, look, I'd like you to be part of the business. And I suppose, Charles, when you reflect back, that's when we got further down the line, it'll come out the same sort of thing, is that you feel you have a passion. Mm-hmm. Your dad has a passion for you to be part of this adventure.
Yeah. What did Nan say at that time?
Oh, Nan didn't mind. As long as she's got a fag bag and a magazines and a telly, she didn't really mind. Sorry, I was nearly swore then.
It's a fucking give a shit podcast.
Oh,
You say what you
okay,
want.
all right. Yeah, she didn't give a shit. So yeah. So we started, and I went to night school to try and do. I did a technical course for about 18 months. During that period, I obviously worked on the shop floor because he was actually a manufacturer, my dad. He did design and manufacture. So I worked initially for his little design practice, and then I went into which was called Anthean Engineering. We went and we did physically make things for the automotive industry. So that was okay. The smell of whale oil and swarf and that sort of stinky overalls, really great.
Were there people there at that point?
He got 2 in the drawing office, and from memory, and it is from memory, there was probably about 6 or 8 of us on the shop floor. Only a little place.
It was a decent-sized business.
It was a decent-sized business, yeah. I mean, when you reflect, when you're that young, you sort of you're going to work, you're earning your money.
How old were you at this point, Dad?
I'd be 19, 18, 19, yeah. So I was just be able to drink the pop, which was great. But obviously your money didn't go very far. Yeah. Well, it actually did, for 10 bob I could have 8 pints of mild, which is lovely. Yeah. But yeah, so I sort of progressed through, but then sadly it came to a demise, really. Because it's funny, when you are the gaffer's son, the people that worked for him, not that they didn't like you, but they always were, I suppose, cautious around you in what they said and what they did. And I had an experience which wasn't very pleasant. when I was the lunch times. I used to get asked to go out and collect materials, screws and that from various wholesalers. And you go out the first time and they're closed, and you think, oh, silly thing, it must be. You go out a second time and it's closed again. And it all came about that I felt that the foreman at the time was stealing. So I didn't say anything initially because his son also worked in the business. And we had quite a good rapport, me and his son, because we were similar age, liked a few laughs, both liked the football and that sort of stuff. I just felt there was something not right. So I eventually tackled him on it. He then decided to report me to my dad's partner, saying I was insubordinate because I refused to go and collect stuff. I tried to explain to my dad that I think he's stealing. I think he's doing something. There's something not right. I can't say wouldn't believe me, but didn't want to. I think because this foreman, he'd been there for 10 years. So that can't be right. You know, he's possibly a viewpoint. You know, that bloody hell, this bloke's been with me ages. He's trustworthy. Was that like the saying something, bringing that to this table? Why didn't you go to Dad first? No, well, I thought, is it me? Am I making this up? I didn't feel comfortable.
And you spoke to Nan on it?
I'd spoke to our mum, but again, because she was...
Really give a shit,
she didn't give a shit, comes up a lot on this, watch. She didn't, you know, she was happy with her life, happy with her lot. Dad went off and did the work. So it was though, and it's this young lad, like you get now, sadly, you get youngsters complain about people, and it doesn't get investigated, and people get away with things, and it just riled me. So I had to say something eventually. And it was then that the foreman at the time reported me to my dad's partner, saying Ian's been insubordinate, he won't go and do this and he won't go to do that. And I remember it all came out. Our dad turned around to him and said, well, what would you do if it was anybody else other than my son? He said, I'd sack him. He said, well, do it then. And that's what happened. And so we had... He sacked me.
The foreman did.
The foreman. Well, yeah. Well, my dad's partner, Peter, ended up having me in and sacked me. So you can imagine what household was like.
How did that go down with you at that point?
I was disappointed.
Were you livid?
I was angry with my dad.
Yeah. You angry with him when he sacked you?
I was angry with Pete, yeah, but Pete again was a nice lad. He was a bit like, you know, he was softer than our dad. Our dad was always the leader. Peter was quite happy to follow, you know, not say like a sheep, because he wasn't. He was a good engineer, Peter was. Mm-hmm. My dad was a good draftsman, and that's how they got themselves together. So no, I wasn't sort of angry at Peter. I was angry more with our dad for not believing what I was trying to say to him. And it's funny because you go 4 or 5 years down the line, it's found out that the foreman he was doing work for other people, using our dad's time, money, materials.
And shifting it at lunchtime.
Yeah, doing it at lunchtime.
Of course he fucking was.
Eventually he did get the boot. So, you know, you do get your comeuppance, I'll tell you.
Yeah, what goes around
comes round, very much so. Yeah. And
so when you got the tin sack,
yeah,
went home to Mum.
Told our Mum, I've had the sack. I said, bloody our dad sacked me. She said, what? I said, oh, I've had this bloody sack. Well, you must have done something wrong. No, I didn't do something wrong, Mum. And it's like you're looking for compassion and you get none, and it's bloody awful. But yeah. So she did side with me. So for months afterwards, because I was still living at home then, I ended up having to do decorating in the house. Because of course, what you do in those days, you go down the dole, and you go down the labour exchange as it was. You sign on, and you get your cheque, and you start looking for another job. But during that period, as I ended up doing decorating, home life wasn't fantastic, I have to say. Because our mum did take my side in the end. And so she wasn't talking, here's your dinner, here's a sandwich, you know, I'm not bloody cooking for you. Yeah. So did you do anything about that? Did you? No, I was happy that our mum was siding for me. I thought, I've got somebody on my side.
Could you sue him at that point, or could you?
Never even thought about that, Charles.
No.
Never even. No, it wasn't the thing. And I think we're at a time, when we go back to those
Did
times.
they have them laws back then?
I'm sure they probably did. But again, like I'm saying, a youngster trying to say something to older people, it gets pushed down. That can't be right. He's been with me a long time. That surely, no, I've helped this man. I've paid him. We look after him.
Yeah.
That they didn't believe it. So yeah, but that's how the times were then.
And do you put that down to this guy who was doing that? Do you put that down to his greed, or do you put that down to, because you'd expect that somebody that's been with you for like 10, 11 years to be loyal, and then for them to be taking off the top, skimming off the top, taking the piss.
Yeah.
Do you think people are just built that way?
I think they are, Charles. I think it's not necessarily something that you can learn, but I think it is in people that whereby they are jealous, they are snidey. It's in people. It's in their DNA.
And do you think
DNA wasn't?
Is that because
nobody bothered.
they look at that and go like, well, why's he got that, or why's he got that?
I think there's always going to be that, rather than sort of thinking the other way, whereby he's bloody worked hard to get that. He deserves it. I'm afraid that human nature takes over, and there's some horrible people in this world, and there's some nice people.
And so then, what did you do? What did you do after that? You moved on to do what?
Yeah, I did a load of things, because again, it was at a time when you can tell the foreman, if you like, to stick his job up his arse on a Friday, and on a Monday get a job.
Okay.
It wasn't like now, where it's so difficult that people are struggling to get work. It was just a different world, different time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if we were to ask our gran, if she was here, the time that she went through the war years, the bombing and all that sort of stuff, being bombed out in London, coming up into the Midlands, I'm sure she would say that particular time that I'm talking about, the sort of mid to 70s, would be an awful time in her viewpoint. So I think we all, as you get older, you think of all the halcyon days. And it ain't all great. You only think of the good bits. You don't think of all the horrible shit.
Did that shit that you went through there? Did that start to shape you as a?
I'm sure it did do. Yeah, I think
What's that? Everybody says you're a really nice guy to be around. You love a chat.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And do you think?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Do you think that like led into that, like being more thoughtful around like?
I think so. I think you sort of. This is me, as I say, I will talk to anybody. I'm quite open, and maybe that might be a failing that I know exists. Perhaps I talk too much, but that's me, and I think I don't regret anything at all that I've done. I've done a lot of different jobs. I've been very fortunate. From obviously being at the studio, going to our dad. I went and tried printing for a bit. I went and did signs for a while. I even went in the bloody fire service for a bit as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I was fortunate that in that time you could just move on.
And so around, like moving on to, you got into obviously, contract flooring, etc. And how?
That was a bit of how I got into that was something else. I mean, you got to remember that during those times. I mean, I was made redundant 3 times during a period of doing sales. I ended up losing my job. The company went bust. That again, you're down the labour exchange. You're seeing looking at the cards, what jobs they've got, and it was. I thought I applied to the post office. I thought, I'll be a postman. Yeah. That's good. I'll be able to play golf and all sorts. I'll be able to get out. Be great, this. I applied to what was Elmdon at the time, rather than sort of Birmingham Airport. It was Elmdon. Because I've been as an ex-fireman, I applied to start clearing the snow off the runways and that sort of stuff. And then at that moment in time, my wife's sister, what would it be? A bloody sister? I never know who's sisters or whatever that is. Her boyfriend worked for Nguyen Air, an electrical wholesaler. And they were looking at the company that did their flooring was looking for a man Friday. And because I'd done drawing of that, anyway, I applied for 3 and I got the offer of 3 jobs, which was great. But which one do you take? You know, at the time, I was on the dole. None of them were, the benefits that you get on the dole still exist now. And it's sad because it doesn't encourage people to get out and bloody work because they're getting paid too much money. And I went for, I think it was like 10 shillings less a week to go to work than I could have had with the benefits that you get for your teeth, your milk, school, lots of things, And it was sort of, but I decided, yeah.
So we got it wrong then?
We got it wrong then. Nothing's altered. In my eyes, it's still wrong. There are, I'll probably be crucified for this, but...
Nobody gives a shit about that.
Yeah, I know it isn't. It's not right. It's not right that you can not work and find yourself earning more money. And that's systemic in the system. A mother and a father do it. The kids then do it. They never bloody work. They don't know what work's like.
Yeah. I call it it's like shit bringing up shit. They're shit in the first place. They don't do anything, and then they bring another load of shit into it, and they copy the same process over and over and over and over again.
We got more shit in the world than we need.
Yeah.
To be honest.
How do we ever change that mentality if they're just going to repeat the same thing by giving the same? At some point you've got to cut it, haven't you? And at some point you've got to say, well, that's it.
Well, I think it's got to, I memean, they talked about bringing, conscription back, haven't they? To get the kids actually back in the forces and that. And I, although I didn't have to do it, I only can reflect on my dad and my father-in-law that they went in. And yes, it was tough, but it did give them some sort of discipline in their lives, something maybe to strive for. There's always going to be weak people. There's always going to be people that can't hack it.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
Whether it's a job, whether it's on the forces, just because your stature, there's things you can't do. Mm-hmm. But it did sort people out, and at the moment, we're a real fluffy society. Yeah. Everybody's you can't say anything where somebody wants to shoot you down.
Yeah. It's a bit snowflakey.
Absolutely.
And so after that, then you got into contract flooring. You took one of them jobs.
I took the contract flooring job, yeah, which was with Alf Oakley Knock. It was Oakley Contracts, little contractor over at Smethwick, not far from Cape Hill Brewery, if anybody knows that. And we were working at the time for Nguyen Air, for Eagle Star Insurance, for Allied Dunbar Insurance, and it was mostly commercial work. So a lot of carpet tiles, a lot of stuck down carpet. We had a contract with the local government, so we used to do the dole offices, and which I knew quite well.
Yeah.
I knew them, so it was quite good. But yeah, so we would go there and rip out carpets over the weekends, prepare the floors, and do that. So yeah, the contracting game. That's when I first came into it, and there was me, there was Alf, Davy Thacker, Auntie Thella called her, and that was it. There was 4 of us in this little unit, the back of the Molliot Arms, if anybody knows that, over Smethwick. It was a little new unit, but it was, and as I say, Alf gave me 10 quid a week to put in my car because I was travelling from Kings Norton to get to Smethwick every day. And all that happened there and that was probably, I took that job when you were born, 84. Yeah, it was 84. Tom was already here. Mm-hmm. I was on the dole. And we got Tom, and then I joined Alf, and then you came along, so he obviously G'd me up. Hey, I need that again now. I better change jobs again. But yes, and it was good times. It was great, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Put a lot of effort in, which I always do. And we during that 80s, there was a lot of money around in the 80s. And the business grew quite rapidly. And within about 4 years, maybe 5 years, Alf approached me and said, would I like to become a director? I'd put the effort in, he'd seen that. Mm-hmm. So we ain't got any money, so it was borrow some money off on the house. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it was only £5,000, which ain't, it's not a lot of money.
Back then.
But last then, and it was a lot of money to us because it was putting us in, and we got 2 You two boys, it was sort of. So anyway, I did, and then sadly, towards the end of the 80s, we had the recession hit us.
Yeah.
And we tried to refinance the business, which became really difficult. The Welsh Development Authority, I remember them dearly, dropping us right in it, right at the death. We thought we got the money, and then bugger me, they said no. And at that point, we were in trouble.
So what year was this?
That would be
No,
no, it was 80. It was 90. Yeah, because I joined Pete. It'd be about 90. Yeah, about 90. Yeah, it was 89, 90. We were doing 10 million quid, but we supplied a lot of product. That's the difference in those days.
10 million quid.
It was a lot of business.
A lot of money then.
It was. It was a lot of money.
Compared to now.
Yeah, it was.
That's 10 million quid now.
Yeah.
Somebody says they do 10 million quid. That's a lot.
It is a lot of brass.
It's a lot of business.
Yeah. But remember, it was all supply and install.
Yeah.
We weren't just a fit-only company.
I know, but you wouldn't have been getting the rates that we're getting now.
Well, I think like anything,
you would have been putting down far more meters.
Oh yeah, I mean a lot of the installers. We had a couple of lads that were direct, but most of them were subcontract.
Yeah. How the industry's built.
Yes, that's the model, isn't it?
Yeah,
really, it's how it is. It's not the greatest model.
No, it's not.
But
it's like what the lads like.
And you can't. It's struggle to change it
that.
when they're used to earning lots of money on piecework as such.
Yeah.
Then you're going to find it very difficult to be able to turn their heads to having a salary, other than maybe as they get a bit older.
So what went wrong there? What went wrong?
We ran out of money. We took
out of cash.
Yeah. What happened during that period of time? Because it was good. We got into bed with Peter Evans Flooring that still exists, I think, down in Barry in South Wales. Huh? Peter was a nice enough lad. He did a lot of mother care work. So we joined forces with him. There was a small contractor in Manchester, and what we were looking for is to get a manufacturer, a design practice, installation close it all up. Yeah. So in those days, the thought pattern was to do that, close it up. Yeah, but sadly, we got hit with a big debt, and we hadn't got credit insurance. That's one thing that we didn't do. Okay. And sadly, we then hadn't got the money to survive. So I remember Alf, ringing up, and that time at the late 80s, there was that many companies going bust. And we did the bloody convention centre in Birmingham.
That was one of the tips.
Oh, I tell you, that was a huge contract, £500,000 job that was, and we they just kept on not paying. Contractors were going to the wall all the time, and then with the Welsh Development not coming up with the goods, we just ran out of cash. And cash is king in whatever size of business you got.
Doesn't matter what you're in, does it? Cash is king.
It does. Yeah.
And then. So that went sour.
I worked for the receipt.
Where you had the car come off the drive.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's pay a tax bill. Yeah, I was fortunate in the fact that.
I think you said to me and Tomo it's going to be repaired, but actually it'd been.
Well, you had to fib. Yeah, it's like anything. You were tiny. So as a result, it was like looking at it and saying, what's happening to that? We thought we'd lose the house.
Yeah.
No, I worked for the receiver. The receiver took me on for 3 months. Because there was inevitably, when something happens like that, you find that clients will say, "Oh, we've had poor workmanship, bad service," and that they come up with any bloody old excuse. I'm sure it's still happening now. The same shit.
Of course it is.
So I then would go in and I'd go and survey it. I'd say, "Look, we need a lad for 2 or 3 days. We'll sort it out. That's going to cost 300 quid, but we'll get 5 grand's worth. They'll pay us." So and I did that for 3 months, and then of course once that finished, the car obviously went to pay the tax bill. Alfred moved on, the MD at that time, and he moved to another contractor called Carpetronic. Sadly, I think they've gone now. We Are Cleaning, who was part of the division, that's probably still going. But I went to Carpo in Rubery. He offered me a job as a fitting manager. And so I decided to take it. He gave me a little car to drive. So obviously far less money, but it was a job. It was something to do. It was something to go out to. Obviously we're only living at Licky End, so Rubery wasn't far. If anybody knows, it's only just up the road. Yeah. So I joined them. Oh, the contracts director there, Tony Hammond, I remember his name. God rest you, Tony, because you're gone now, kid. But he always used to fly on the seat of his pants when it came down to jobs. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was one of them. Yeah, we'll get that done. Throw more lads at it. We'll get it done. And I used to sit there and think, and I was the fitting manager, I said, Tone, we're going to make bugger all out of this. Because I'd been, when you become part of a business, you know that profit and loss, and profit isn't a dirty word. Let's get it right. We're in business. You've got to make a profit to have all this around you. It's not. But he was a bloody, he lived with the fairies, I think, on the top of bloody Clent somewhere.
He got the job done.
He got the job done, and we did a lot of work for main contractors, which that's where I fell foul of main contractors. I didn't like them because they're supposed to be fair and reasonable, but they're not. They lie to you.
So when did Falcon come into play? Like,
well, during that period of time that I was working.
Go for it. Okay. Well, welcome back. A week on, we had a bit of a power cut, bit of a drama, but we're back. Same jerseys, same people. Here he is.
Yeah.
Big E.
That's it. My hair's grown a bit, as you might notice.
Picking up from where we left off, I think we just started talking about the moving to Falcon and what that was like.
Yes.
So how did all that come about?
Well, I mean, having worked at, as said previously, with Carpetronic, I came across Pete and John during that period. They did subcontract installers work for them. So me being the fitting manager, I got to talk to them. During that period, they also, I ended up going to do some work with them as well on the afternoons and evenings sort of thing. Anyway, with Carpo's demise, they approached me and said, would I fancy a job? And I said, no, I can't. I've got to sort of stay where I am. But then they twisted my arm. And so I went to see them. We had a little unit over in Kidderminster, back of the sugar beet factory, which doesn't exist anymore, if anybody knows it. And I went there.
And what was the job? I became a man Friday because Pete and John were installers primarily. And the business had been built on the likes of Premier Inn. We used to do a lot of that work and pub work. Okay. So, sort of brewers' fairs, harvesters. That Beefeater.
Yeah. It was leisure, pure leisure. And so it was. I enjoyed the time that I had with them. They brought me in. I sort of stayed with them, and we where we are now.
What was the vision for that, though?
I don't think they had a vision, if I'm honest,
okay.
Charles. Yeah. They wanted me to come in, having been part of a bigger business, having been done admin as well, because theirs was back of the fag packet, which was imagine. A lot of contractors at that time were particularly like that.
Okay.
Everything was done on a little piece of paper. Yeah. It was done on a handshake, which was great. That those days sadly have disappeared. So you have to have everything written down. But it was just a little contractor doing things as well as they possibly could.
And so what made you make that move to them? What attracted you to that? Was it money?
No, it wasn't the money.
No.
It should never be the money. It's because if you want to work with people, it's people that make it.
Yeah.
It's not. Yes, we all need money. We've all got to pay our bills. But surely you're going to work for a long time in this life, and as a result, you need to have a rapport with who you are and where you're going. So for me, it's because I liked them and I could help them.
Yeah.
I
mean, in hindsight, looking at from their perspective, you were a good recruit.
Oh, yeah, I was an asset.
He's done a lot. He's seen a lot of the industry, up to 10 million quid. Because when you joined, Pete and John, what revenues would we do?
Well, I think that in the first year, I think we did our first million.
Yeah.
And we opened a bottle of champagne and everybody went mad.
Yeah.
Oh, £1 million. We've done £1 million, you know.
Which is massive, though.
Which is massive, and you have to, it's a pat on the back, and everyone should, should get up and, say, yeah, this is it, we've done well.
Yeah, that's a definite, moment in time, isn't it?
It is. It's something that
it's
something that you do remember. In all fairness, those little things it was a big thing at the time. It's obviously compared to what business is now.
Yeah.
But what we'd achieved with the manpower resources we've got a little unit, as I say, over in Kidder, bloody Northern Light Roof, we used to go upstairs to the office, and it was a bloody...
It was like a cardboard
hole. It was a bloody carpet.
And then the handrail.
That's it. No windows.
Stacey would be having a fucking cow.
Looking in. No, what's it like out there? Can you open the shutter? Is it still daylight? It was that.
Nobody fucking knows.
Nobody fucking knew what was going on. You're staying here till the work's done. So it was like being a lock-in. It was like a lock-in. Like the boozers, if you've ever been in a lock-in, it's that. It is. It was that, and it instilled you to want to be really part of it. And they got the enthusiasm, particularly Peter.
Yeah.
John to a lesser degree, and I fed off that. Yeah. And I think with any business, and you've probably seen it yourself in your business now, it is important that the people that are guiding it do enthuse people and they want to work for you.
Yeah, definitely. There needs to be some inspiration there, doesn't there?
Going back to those days, that's exactly what it was. And I think nothing alters in business, in my opinion. That's what you need to be successful.
And so what role did you play in that journey then? So talk about that. What were you doing the Man Friday? So you're doing what you're doing, driving, picking, cutting,
I think like
loading.
Anything, when there's a few of you have to wear a lot of hats during the day, and so it was doing everything really. It was I'd do some ordering, I'd do some, I'd go out with the fitters and help them because. You need to know what's going on out there. I wasn't a skilled craftsman at all, but I understood when I went out with them the difficulties that they encounter. And so for me, it was great to sort of pick up that, go out with the lads, be in the office, do some ordering, meet the reps. So you started then doing a bit of buying, so all of a sudden you're negotiating with people. And it's another skill that you learn, and you become very rounded with it. And they liked it because Pete was a loner. He liked to go and dash off, go to a site, see how the lads are doing, get his tools out, do a bit, upset the foreman, and then bugger off and leave the lads to pick up the flack, and he would hardly buy him a sandwich either. And they didn't even get a bloody sandwich out of him.
Well, if he's listening, that's absolutely brilliant. Hey, I spoke to him last week, and he was like, "Are you still doing that shit podcast?" I thought, you don't want to come on, no? I'm fucking coming on there.
Listen to this, Peter.
Here we go. Fuck you, get me on there. I'll have a bit to say.
Yeah, but it was great. And I think, again, with any business, the people within it, we've all got some different strengths. And that's what makes it. And some want to lead. Yeah. And some are happy being good at what they do in the job that they do. And
where were you at that point? So you're seeing them as you were inspired by them to motivate you to keep going and keep going.
Well, I think Charles, having been sort of out of work and moved around and had the disappointments and having been
done
on
10 million quid,
and then all of a sudden. Yeah, but I got a job. I was thankful of that with the family. You got a job. Yeah. And so I just put the same effort in that I always have done with anyone that I've worked for. Yeah. I just put the effort in for them and for us.
Were there any key milestones in that? Like, was there any moments that you really remember? Starting your journey, starting that out, and then actually going, that was really key for me, that day or that moment in time?
Not that comes to light now, but I think the whole journey, and we go through it. Life is, the way that I see life, is you go through it and you have your peaks and troughs. Life isn't like that. No. And although we'd like it to be always like that, it's not. No. And you have your disappointments, and I'd had the disappointments. So for me, I got satisfaction of having a job, working with people that I liked, and just seeing where the future would go. Yeah. And I suppose I hoped that maybe one day, because it was small, that I'd be recruited into the business. Yeah. and obviously the offset of that was eventually that sort of happened.
So how many were in the business? So when you first started, your first day at Falcon,
Yeah.
what was that? Pete, John, you,
Pete, John, Bobby.
God bless his soul.
Yeah,
Top
yeah,
bloke.
yeah. He
Top
was.
bloke.
Yeah, well, you knew Bobby, didn't you?
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, yeah. He was a good lad, Bobby.
Yeah, I liked
He'd
him.
been round the block. He liked to drink.
Yeah, but he was kind.
But he was kind. He was a Billy Goat Gruff.
Yeah, but
I think
he was good with me.
He was. He put on this show because he felt he needed to. But he was a teddy bear, really.
Yeah, he was.
Inside.
He was great. I worked with him in Leicester for ages, and he was fantastic.
Yeah.
With me, you know, and he never spoke to me like shit, and you know,
No.
not some of the others.
No,
you know,
I think I'm afraid that's how life is, Charles. Isn't
yeah.
it? Really?
Yeah, no,
Sadly.
definitely. But he was a good guy, Bob. So there was you.
was.
There was you.
Yeah, Bobby was in the warehouse
Yeah.
because at that point we got a huge Singer sewing machine. You know, it was like about 30 foot long.
Yeah.
And in those days, doing the leisure side, the pubs, it was all what they call narrow loom.
Yeah.
And
27 inch,
27,
36
and you could have some 54, but the
Yeah, yeah.
54 was often
Yeah.
you seen that on site.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and so it was all sewn together. It all had to be pattern matched. And Bob, although he'd
So
been
you were sewing the bales together. You were
Yeah.
ordering in the bales, and
We
then
were, yeah.
making your own plans from that point.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So,
Alongside the manufacturers, because
Yeah.
obviously the manufacturers say in those days it was a lot of Hugh Mackay and a lot of Calderdales.
Yeah.
Still
now,
they're
though,
still
you know, Mitchells and Butlers and that, they're still
They
using
still have the
that. They're
narrow
still
stuff.
using that. You know,
Yeah.
we're still doing cutting plans based on that,
Yeah.
seaming plans based on that. But obviously, we don't sew it. They sew it.
They sew it.
and they send it in to us. You know, whether
us.
it be 3-drop match or
Do you
a
have to
4-drop.
sort of give them the you know? Do you have to approve the seaming
I
plan?
mean, back in the day before we had CAD, you know, Dad, we still had the plastic sheets that you made
Absolutely.
with the lines
That's-
on for the
yeah.
scale.
Well,
we'd get the drawing out, and then we'd
Yeah.
and then they were fucking brilliant. And you know, we'd scale it off, and we go how many drops, or we can
That's
get
right.
5 drops in there, or we get 4 drops in there, and
Yeah.
that one needs to be 10 meters, that needs to be 9, that needs to be
That's-
7.5, that needs to be 6, and
Yeah.
you know, and then that. But now we send that as a plan to them, but they still make it the same.
It's still,
you know,
I think, like anything, the industry is such that you go back to the dark ages, it's still being made the same.
Yeah.
You know, 27 inch, you can't rush 27.
But if you speak to some of these fitters now, Dad, you know, they
they'll
wouldn't
never
know what
put a knife in it.
27 inches.
They'll-
If you said to an installer now, like, you know, do you know how to sew?
They wouldn't have a clue.
They'd be like, you what?
No.
Sewing? Sewing's not cut. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's how it was, you know.
And some seams would have to be hand sewn on site.
Yeah.
So you know that's another
I
skill
remember
in itself.
I remember the first job when I first experienced it, and it was a church altar that we did, and it was a squared step.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, well, how do we get over that? And we're actually going to cap the corners. We're going to fold it back, and we're going to sew it, and then we're going to pull it.
Turn
we're
it
going to
back.
turn it over.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah,
What
it's-
the. You know.
And I think, like anything, that the young lads of today coming through won't have experienced that. And I think that's probably relevant to a lot of trades.
Yeah.
That the young lads aren't learning those skills from the older lads that are moving on. That
Yeah.
are, you know, sadly, we're all demise at some point.
No, absolutely, but it's not. You know, a fitter that's probably worked 15 years probably never fitted any.
Oh yeah, quite believe it.
If it's all broadloom and action back shit and
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
PPs
Stuck,
and
all the stuck
you know,
down stuff, because obviously that's very fashionable in it to have
Yeah.
everything stuck down. But
Yeah.
no, there'll be a lot of installers now
That wouldn't know.
that are certainly that are under 30,
Yeah.
35 that probably will not know how to sew.
Yeah.
And won't necessarily have come across real carpet, as I call it.
So it's-
you can't just slash
Yeah,
it in.
yeah,
It,
no,
that, it ain't
absolutely.
up knife.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
you know, peel it back, cut through the back.
Yeah,
You've got to be really
yeah.
careful with
It's
it.
nice.
Yeah.
But so there was you, Pete, John, Bobby.
Bob, yeah, and we got a young girl in the office at the time.
Was that Ellie?
No, Ellie came afterwards.
Did she?
Yeah, I forget the girl's name. Which came? She? Was it? She got sacked. She got the sack. Bloody right. Where is she now? Nicking the bloody out the petty cash tin.
Yeah.
The bloody. I mean, yeah. Then she'd worked there. She was there before me, but they gave her carte blanche because in those days. We talk about cash, and there was a lot of cash about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They used to do a lot of cash jobs for all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And she was responsible for it. They used to throw her the receipts, money, you know.
Yeah.
She was creaming off the top. You know, you can't believe it when you know Peter.
Yeah,
you can't believe that he was so
Yeah.
if you like, gullible to that.
Yeah.
You know.
Allowed that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and when she left, he bought her a bloody...
I know, he bought her a vase and that,
a
didn't
glass
he?
vase,
Yeah.
and then he went and asked for it back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just typical Pete.
Give me the fucking vase
it really
back.
is. It's typical of him, you know. Whenever he bought a car, it was like, well, what's the best deal I'm going to get? And then I want another £100 off it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He
yeah.
could never, ever just say, is that a price? Yeah, great, I'll pay that. And he's still the bloody same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And do you think over that time, what was your? I suppose when did you start to see a vision for Falcon where you could lead it? You know,
I think it was purely that having had the background experience of bigger business. They relied on me. I had to set up their pensions. They hadn't got pensions or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they allowed me the reins to be able to, well, I'm going to organise this. This is the way I've done it. Introducing job sheets, which they never had bleeding job sheets. It was fag packet stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so lads all of a sudden were starting to get organised. They had a job sheet it had an address on rather than, you know, the house round the corner,
Just
you
get
know.
round
That's
there,
all you'd got. So in that instance, I started to feel more part of it. And then over the period of years, Peter decided, probably about 8 years in or something or other, and he decided that...
because you moved to Dudley at this point. So it was Dudley was 2000, right?
I think it was about 2000. Yeah, I think we'd moved to Dudley because we were rented in Kidder.
Yeah.
And the lads,
Lyle Avenue.
Yeah, and then when I said about having a pension,
Yeah.
they obviously spoke to their financial advisor and said, "Well, why don't you suggest you buy a unit and do something for your pension?" So yeah, then Dudley came on, and
Which was a great unit in comparison.
it was a good little unit. Yeah. It was great. It was great for us, and it helped progress the business. I think, like you've done here, Charles. You know, over the years, you have to move with the times. You have to take that gamble at some point that the business is going to grow, and you've got facilities now that you've grown into.
Yeah.
And so it was that. So yes, it was a big step for them, but it also gave them something that they got a brand new unit, little
it's
estate.
great, isn't it?
It was great. It was great, and it got daylight. We could see out the windows.
Yeah. Yeah,
Rather than
Plus-
roll a shutter up to see if it's night or day.
had a steel staircase.
And a steel staircase, yeah, that's bloody right.
Yeah. And that was a big jump.
It was a big jump for the business, yeah, and I was probably frightened for them. Wasn't for me particularly, but for them, they're obviously, you know, outlaying a lot of money. Yes, they're sort of, it's going to be in their pension pot. So down the line,
Good for them.
But down the line, it could still be now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as a result, it was a good thing for them. But I think they had some trepidation with it. But it proved to be the right thing.
And I suppose, you know, what was the biggest, I suppose, challenge that you had there while working within the business? You know, because you've gone from, you know, a real smaller unit at Lyle Avenue and then moving to Dudley. It's then that like step up, you know. And was that hard? Was it a hard transition? Was it not? Was it like,
I think, you know,
was there more expectation on you, or was there not, or did you?
No, I think we were just fortunate that the way that the client bases that we got a good rapport with in the leisure market in various sectors. And business was good through that period. So as a result, the business grew naturally,
organically.
Yeah, and so as a result, all of a sudden we did 2 million quid.
Yeah.
2 million quid. You know, that is another landmark.
Yeah.
And you see it. You see the progression. You've probably got the old account somewhere, I would
have,
imagine.
yeah,
you
I
know.
have. I've still got the old invoice books,
and
the handwritten ones.
That's how we always used to do it. There was still the computer age did come in. Eventually.
No, okay. But like I said to
Eventually.
Stacey the other day, like, you know, about potentially getting that up on the wall outside, you know, like in the glass cabinet, you know, because I think it was April 2004. We did 5,000 quid.
Yeah.
It was a really bad month.
It was, yeah.
And I remember it because I was putting something together for when I was doing the working with Goldman Sachs, and on the accelerator program. And I remember putting it together and actually going, well, in that year, I think it was 10 years, 10 years on. Yeah, it was 2004. It was 2018, and I was looking at it and going, 14 years on, we've just done like £1 million month.
I know.
You know that.
I know.
That.
Well,
the scale
in
5,000 quid
I know.
To in a month,
Yeah.
to then do £1 million. You
Oh,
know?
the scaling has been phenomenal here.
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
And that's credit to you and all the staff that have
Yeah.
helped build this business, because it starts as a little acorn and it grows, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
of course, but it starts off with that foundation, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
so moving back to that foundation of, we then went from you had Bobby and who else? Who else was on that journey then?
Well, I think, in those days, there'd be Adrian. I don't know whether you remember AD.
I don't remember Aid. I think
Aid.
did he do my bedroom at home once?
No, that was
that
Alan
Nick-
and Roger.
was that Alan and Roger?
Alan and Roger were two lads that Pete and John knew from their days with Commercial Carpet Specialists.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they came and did some. They did both carpet and they did
Some
some
laminate, didn't
laminate
they?
as well, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, I remember,
Alan
yeah.
and Roger. They're still going. They're still. I don't think they work so much now, but they've been to see Pete and John
Have they?
a few times. Yeah.
Brilliant.
They're still going. Yeah. There was. Davy Corbett.
Yeah,
Sadly.
yeah, God
sadly,
bless his
Davey,
soul,
God
another
rest his
top
soul.
bloke.
Yeah, and Tommy's son.
Oh,
'Cause obviously,
brilliant. Yeah,
I mean, they're great people.
Great
aren't they?
people. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
So we had some great lads around us. Again, initially they were directly employed, and then Pete turned them on to subcontractor. Rightly or wrongly, it works both. It can work both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a very small team of us, but just doing more and more business.
More volume.
Yeah.
And everybody working longer
Yeah,
and
that's
harder
right.
and
Yeah.
and really pushing that.
Yeah. And obviously you've got people that are still here now, Mark Pym and
Yeah.
and his son, who's been on the podcast,
Yeah.
hasn't he,
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah.
And so it's those sort of, they've developed and they've stayed with the business.
Good people, though, good
They
people.
are good
that,
people and
loyal and, really
That's what you
committed.
want from them, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all you can ask, innit?
You want people to be, you treat people as you want to be
Yeah.
treated. And if you do that, the real people will stay with you and give you all.
Yeah,
give
and
their
my
all
philosophy
to
has
you.
always been like, just be all in. If you're going to be all in, be all in. And if you don't want to be all in,
That's it.
don't bother.
No, that's it.
Just
No.
fuck off.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be part of it, just do one.
That probably frightens some people, though, Chuck.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
I just don't see the point in going through life and not being committed to something.
No, well,
Don't do it for the sake of do it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
do it
life's
because you
purpose,
believe in
surely.
it. Yeah.
Surely that's what life's all
Well,
about.
don't
isn't
fucking
it?
do it then.
That's
That's I just don't have any other way of thinking about it.
No.
I wouldn't. All I've ever said to myself is I just want to be happy.
yeah.
I want to be happy in what I'm doing, and the day that comes that I'm not happy doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
that's it for me. That something's got to change.
Well, you have to change your
Something's
life.
gotta
don't
give.
you? You've got to change your life to that pattern.
That's my philosophy.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
And do you think that over that time of growing Falcon from Dudley, what were the sleepless nights that you had there?
Well,
how was that?
I think you're always going to have through business that inevitably you're working for a client, and then all of a sudden he says, "Actually, we're not going to do as much work next month or next year." And that's in the time when we were very down the leisure market. That was always the scary time. You'd never know what the next year was likely to bring. You'd had a great year and thought that was going to go forward, and then come the April, they say, "Well, actually, we're not doing as many.
We're not going to do as much. No.
Not going to do as much," and that you then shit your pants a bit. It's sort of it does. You start squeaky bum, thinking, what do we do now? And I think and I have to say credit to you and the team here, having diversified the business has set you in good stead going forward.
Yeah, and I suppose what were the defining moments? Before me and Tomo and all of that. What were the defining moments of Falcon to that point? Defining moments of whether that be successful, whether it be fucking hell, that was a real shit day.
Well, I think anything, the progression that we came, whereby me joining them, then about 8 years down the line, Pete decided he'd had enough,
right,
and wanted out. He lost his stepdad.
Yeah,
he'd lost his mum years ago, and he ended up going into the paras, and then his stepdad passed on. And I think he'd had enough.
Yeah.
He'd had enough of it all. And so he just went out to South Africa with a girlfriend at the time, found a plot of land. He actually went searching for his real dad.
Did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. That was the idea going out. He was supposed to be a bloody lion tamer in a circus or something or other. I mean, how the fucking truth that is in that Pete.
Who told you that, Pete?
Pete, yeah.
Fuck off.
But yeah, so he goes out, and obviously at that point, it decides to, I'm having that, like a deposit, came back, and sold everything. Just sold everything, his cottage, his cars. Everything went.
And were you disappointed then?
I was sad. I was really sad, yeah. Yeah, I was, well, I still am close to Peter, because he always treated me right.
Yeah.
He treated me fair. And that you can't ask that from
But he respected
anybody.
you at the same time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He respected my opinion.
Yeah.
My honesty about things, because you have to be honest about it.
But you'd helped him build something great.
Yeah, and he still feels part of it.
Yeah, he does now,
Even now.
I know. Yeah.
We need to send him a new T-shirt or something, because he's probably worn out the other bugger.
He don't want to come on the podcast though, does he?
He does. No. Does he? So sod, you ain't having one, Pete.
Find that in the mail.
Yeah, sorry, Peter. But yeah. So, yeah, but as
and then when Pete left, what was the?
Yeah, I was very
change?
saddened by it. I suppose anticipated that because I'd been there going into 10 years, that John would have said, "Hey, do you want to be part of it with me?"
Yeah.
Sadly, that didn't happen.
Okay.
His wife became the director rather than me.
Right.
And so that was disappointing, and that was pretty horrible.
Yeah, you thought I might get. Did
I
you bring that up? Did you raise it or not?
I didn't, because again, I thought we were friends. We'd built the business together I know they started well before me.
Yeah.
But we built it to this point. Peter goes, I thought I'd have an opportunity, and he didn't give me the opportunity.
Okay.
So, but then 2 years down the line, so I still worked with him for 2 years, still putting in the effort.
Yeah.
And then we moved house.
Yeah.
You
Bought
probably
that
remember the
wreck.
cottage. Yeah. Well, you loved it.
I loved it with Mum.
I
You hated it.
And Tomo.
Tomo hated it as well.
Falling down. Oh, dear me. What did we do?
Yeah.
But that particular week having off, and then going into work to find an envelope just pushed under the phone that opened it, and he said, well, there's been a downturn in business, so I've spoke to the accountants. We're going to close the business down. The only good point with all of that was that at the time his sister worked for the business. Carol had come in to help with the accounting. With Gordy passing on, because his stepdad helped with the accounts, Carol came in.
And she was great, wasn't she?
And she was great, Cass. Yeah. I'd bought her some, but she was great.
Yeah.
She was very good to us.
She was brilliant to me.
And she was so honest.
Yeah.
You could touch her. You could trust her with anything.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, so we had
so you got
conversation.
this fucking letter?
Got this letter, yeah. And Carol had typed it up, and I looked at Kaz and I said,
"What's this?" And how many's in the office at this point?
Me and Carol.
I mean,
that's it.
And he's left an envelope for you.
And I said, I just cannot believe it. She said, I'm really sorry. Eh? She said, I had to type it up and all sorts. She said, but she said, I think it's disgusting. I said, he hadn't got the bollocks. I'm at home to come and see me.
Yeah.
I'd worked for him for 10 years, put in all this bloody effort, and he can't come and just say, hey, arm around the shoulder, look, I'm sorry, mate. I know you've moved house, you've taken on a big mortgage and all sorts, but I'm going to pack it in. So that was around the November time, and I went back in after the week, and we had a conversation. I said, John, me and you are finished as far as our friendship is. I said, I wouldn't do that. I just didn't expect it. I understand what you're saying, but why couldn't you come and tell me?
Yeah, do it face to face.
I thought he felt more of me than that.
He's shirked it, and he's short that, and that's poor leadership, innit, on every level. That is.
Well, he wasn't. John wasn't the leader. He was the one that followed Peter. Peter was the leader. So it was really, really disappointing.
Kicking the teeth.
Oh yeah, and so that's that particular period of time, that build up to Christmas, because we had a Christmas do booked and all sorts. But our friendship had finished. I said, I work for you. I said, but
I've personally learned a lot from that, from that story, because obviously I already knew that story.
I know you did, yeah.
And I've learned a lot about I'll never do that. Them hard days when you sit somebody down and say, this ain't working no more. That I always go back to that, Dad. I always go back to that time.
Yeah.
Getting the fucking letter, coming home. We were sat in the kitchen, like sat at a bus stop with 4 chairs, then wicker chairs out of the conservatory.
We've still bloody got them, I think.
Sat there. The house is a fucking wreck. The roof's leaking in, and potentially jobs go.
Yeah.
And that was fucking, me and Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
But
we thought about getting the board and sticking it back out the front of the cottage at the time.
Yeah.
Stick the board in.
But what I took from it was that always do it face to face. And even like, I've had some shit conversations, even with people that are here now. Elliot, me and him have had shit conversations. Yeah. But he respects that because I wouldn't dare send him a letter and tell him that news. No. He wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare do that. All based around that story, there's just a lot to be said about leaders that can't. They want it all, but they don't want to do the hard yards, and they're hard yards.
That's often the case,
isn't it?
When the shit hits the fan, you've got to have
hard
people,
conversation.
Yeah,
and I've got fucking really good at it.
Yeah,
I've got over the years.
Well, hopefully that tile.
Over the years, I got really good at it. Having shit conversation with people.
But it's important that you do it like this.
100%. I'll never do it any other way. Or let them do it.
Yeah,
no,
get somebody else.
No, I won't let somebody else do it.
No,
I'll do it.
No,
I'll have that shit convo.
Yeah.
And
so sadly, me and him fell out. The upside of that was that clearly that Christmas period, John sold his house because his missus always wanted to go to Tenerife or somewhere to live, certainly to Spain. And so Carol and I had been talking whether or not there was an opportunity for us to be able to do something. And we went to him and said, look, we can't run this business without you leave some funding in. So he left us $100,000 in the business, which was
fair play.
But I think, fair play. But I think it was purely with Carol's influence, because not necessarily mine, that she was there. So he gave us another opportunity, which we then grasped with both hands
and
ran with it. And clearly, for that first few months, it was shit. It was awful. There wasn't any business. He was quite right. There'd been a downturn. But I got so many promises of business
that you had to hang in.
That I had to hang in there. So we've got to hang in and do this.
And grit and determination and knocking on the door and
and you just kept going.
I'm here.
Can I help? Can I help? Yeah. And you just did that, and all of a sudden the phone rings and the floodgates open.
And it was that, wasn't it?
Because
that's when you made your money, wasn't it? Really, wasn't it?
We made a lot of money during that period. Yeah, it was.
And that was like, because I remember, as kids, everything was really like on tick, wasn't it? Really.
Oh yeah.
We didn't really have.
Well, I think we probably only just paid for Florida.
My mum was 40.
That's right. Yeah,
30 years ago.
But it was those days, and I'm sure it still happens, and we've all got bills to pay and that. But it was get the best deal on a credit card, then swap it over in 3 months, so interest free. And it was that. And I always dreamed, I suppose, of being able to pay my credit card off at the end of the month.
Being successful.
And that was like a thing to be success. Own a dishwasher. And pay your credit card off. And it was like, that was it. And eventually those days came and we could do it.
Yeah. And then what was probably the biggest challenges that you faced around that time of, uncertainty, I suppose? Like, I've got $100,000, but like, Jesus Christ, that can go very fast.
Yeah, I think. Well, we obviously kept it very lean, didn't we?
Yeah, of course.
Again, it's cutting. What Oakley should have done years ago, they should have retrenched. They should have got rid of 50% of the people. It could have still been here. But it's all in hindsight. You make the decisions. I've always said, make a decision. I've always been. I'm not saying it's the right one, but I'll make it. And that's how way you have to.
I really believe in that. I really believe in just make the decision. Stick to the line. Follow it through. Consequences will be the consequences.
Absolutely.
But just follow it through. Once you, and because I think a lot of people they'll load the gun, but they struggle to fire the bullets. And I've just got very good at firing the bullets. And I think that's it, isn't it then? Because there's always going to be a consequence to that action.
Oh, absolutely.
There'll always be a fallout somewhere. And the fallout will be the fallout. And that's how I've always looked at it.
Yeah.
You know, that you have to just go for it, don't you?
You do. There's no question about it.
And I don't want to sit back and think, why didn't I?
I think what you have to look at, never get to an old git and think about what you should have done. You know, if opportunities come along, what's the worst that can happen?
It goes wrong.
It goes wrong.
And what? And a load of people go, well, it went wrong. Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, well, but I tried.
Yeah.
Because I could be sitting here now.
Correct.
It's
I didn't fucking sit there and do nothing.
No.
I went at it.
Yeah.
You know, and I always said that. You know, I never want to get to 70 years old, 80 years old.
Well, you've got me and your granddad in you, haven't you?
Yeah.
'Cause our dad was very determined in his way to what he wanted and where
I'd
he was
rather
going.
sit there at 70 years old with my grandkids and go, well, you know what, though?
I tried.
I did everything I could.
That's right.
I lived that life.
Yeah.
You know, I had everything.
Yeah.
I did the lot.
That's it. Well, that's how it should be.
But I came up short.
Never have regrets.
And that's okay, innit?
Of course
And
it
these
is.
people want to judge and laugh and go,
let 'em
but
do
they
it.
don't even fucking have a go.
Yeah,
You can't judge something if you're not willing to actually put yourself in the trench.
Correct. So, yeah, you're doing the right thing, kid.
So during the time of building Falcon, you know, what did you give a shit about the most?
Well, I suppose, again, we wanted to build a business that everyone wanted to be part of.
Yeah.
Yes, the monetary side was important. I just wanted to look after my family.
Yeah.
I think, and that's surely anybody that's got family, whether it just be a wife or a husband or whatever, surely that's what
Can
your
I bring
life's
some
about.
challenge to that? Because, like,
course you can.
you know, like, for me,
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, you know, they do it
Yeah.
because of their family.
Yeah.
And they do the work because of their family.
Yes.
I don't 100% agree with that. You know, nobody tells me to get up at, like this morning, nobody told me to get out of bed at 10 to 5.
No, I know.
Nobody.
Well,
I
couldn't get out of bed at 10 to 5. So, unless
I know
it's
you
on the
struggled
evening.
to get here for half 9, mate.
I only just got here for half 9. So, you know, that's where we're different.
I know. But nobody told me that, right? So when I look at it and I go like, well, you do it to put bread on the table. You do it to keep the lights on at home. You do it.
Yeah.
I don't do it for any of fucking their reasons. No. I do it for me because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
I want to be successful in my own right.
Well, you take pride in what you've
I
achieved,
do.
you know.
And so nobody's telling me to get out of bed that early. Nobody's telling me to work till 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. What was that you, or was that, or are you, you know?
Well, you are a leader. That you will always lead the business, and you need that within an organisation. I'm a bit more rounded. You direct to the point. I go around the reeking.
Fucking know.
I know you do. Hence this podcast taking about 6 hours. Because I can't stop
over
talking.
a week.
Yeah. I've got grey hair. His beard, come on. But it's that, you know, that, you have got the drive and determination to make this a success, and it's all credit to you and the team that you've built
totally,
around.
yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah, I know
and you
that.
give them
I know,
credit.
100%.
You know,
I
it's
love
not
that.
just you.
No, 100%.
And you give them credit. You give them a bollocking,
Yeah,
but you also give them a credit.
Yeah.
And that's why they stay with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why they're loyal. That's why they're in.
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Well, it's all in, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all in.
You know, give a shit.
It has to be. Yeah,
Give a shit.
Give a shit. Turn up.
Yeah.
Do the best job you possibly can every fucking day.
That's right.
Don't do it half-hearted.
I think, like anything, as old as we get, we all need a pat on the back and a cuddle. You like to give a cuddle, but sometimes it's a slap.
Yeah.
But you still means the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm telling you
the right
something.
reason.
Doing it for the right reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill I've learned over the years. You know.
I couldn't do that. I'd have to cuddle, and I'd have to go round the reeking to say, look, well, this.
I tried. We had an interview the other day, and like, you know, he was a great young kid.
Yeah.
But some of his fucking answers were horrendous, and I got into him.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, if you get this job or you don't get this job, just take this from it. Don't do that again.
Yeah,
like a lesson.
But that's
I
good
made him
guidance
feel
for him, isn't it?
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I made him feel uncomfortable.
But you gave him something to go away with that he can take for his life.
Correct.
So it's going to enhance his life.
Yeah.
Think about what we've done. Think about what's been said today.
And he might go away, and in 20 years, he might set a podcast up and do his own thing. And he might go,
I
I went to an interview,
Yeah.
and he absolutely fucking tore me apart.
But it was great.
It was
made
great.
me who I am.
Yeah. You know, do you know what I mean?
And that's it.
Like, not going to fluff it up for them.
No.
You know,
No.
and I think that I've learned that, you know, just to be, you know, I am very direct. I know I am. And sometimes I can be too direct. And
well, you're like Grandad.
But I know that about myself. It's 2 feet.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean to offend anybody by that. But I don't go out my way to offend people.
People that know you know that that's the case.
Yes.
It's without a question.
Yeah. And so I suppose the pivotal moment came in 2006 when you decided to bring Tom and me on board. You know, what was that?
Yeah. Well, again, you know, with the business starting to increase, you'd just done your plumbing apprenticeship, hadn't you, sort of thing. You know, we got a little van and got some bloody signs to stick on it. You know,
remember.
But obviously, at the age you were, it was difficult to get regular work, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
A young bloke, you know, what's he bloody doing? Sometimes wouldn't get his hair cut. You know, that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. So there was an opportunity where we had a discussion, didn't we, about, well, come as a subby, come and help me in the warehouse.
Yeah, do a bit.
Give me a
couple of
bill
days
and I'll
here,
pay you. Couple 2 days there.
Yeah, it was great.
And that's how it sort of worked, didn't it?
And Tommy went out on the road.
Yeah, because Tom didn't come initially,
no,
did he?
Didn't.
You know, it was you. You came in. You started.
Because I just met Stacey.
I think you had.
And I just bought my first house. I just bought Golden Cross Lane.
In Golden, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
remember? Because Mum went and got the keys from the estate agent.
And it was
Stacey
Stacey
worked there.
But
we weren't together then.
No,
we hadn't even met.
It was funny, wasn't it?
Well, we had met. You know, we knew each other from kids, but like we hadn't like dated.
You hadn't got a you hadn't really built up a relationship then.
We weren't doing anything.
No,
it was really funny.
It was strange.
Mum went to get the keys, and then the next thing is, I meet her in the boozer.
Yeah. And
it went from there.
Look where you are now.
Oh! Love you.
Love you. Yeah. Edit that.
Yeah. Cut that. But, I love her.
Yeah, of course you do.
You know.
Of course you do.
And then once we came on board.
Yeah, again, it moved on again, didn't it? Because obviously you coming in wanting to learn more, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was a matter of do your duties, come and help me. Obviously, we got Paul in the warehouse, which was Carol's.
I love Paul.
You know,
he was great.
Yeah, it was Carol's bloody brother, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, so it was very much family.
Yeah.
Very much family.
And obviously, I used to go in early, so you know, I'd be able to speak to Carol in the morning and that sort of stuff. And she was just brilliant with me. You know, she was absolutely golden.
Yeah.
Well,
she thought of you as her son to a certain degree, didn't she?
She was brilliant,
and
absolutely brilliant. You know, she helped me out as well financially at one point as well.
Yeah,
and you know, when I was a bit stuck in the shit, and like she was absolutely brilliant. You know.
Yeah.
So
she's a good lass.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. And I think, you know, so that the success of Falcon not only, you know, started with Pete and John, it then moved into you and Carol.
Yeah, it did.
You know,
yeah.
I know you were the driver, but without her behind you, you know, like you've always said, behind every good man is a good woman.
Definitely.
And like that woman in business was Carol, wasn't it?
She was.
She was there picking it up. She was there paying
she
everybody.
Chased the money. She chased the money. You know,
she was getting your paperwork.
Why aren't you paying me? Why aren't you paying me?
She was like your perfect
PA
effectively,
absolutely.
wasn't she? She just sweeped everything up around you, didn't she?
Yeah, I could just look after the business,
brilliant.
And she just was able to cover all the admin side and that.
Finance,
I needed to do that, which was great.
Management accounts, you know.
Yeah, it was.
You need that, don't you?
You do.
You know, you need that. And so, what do you think that you know? What was your thought process in I suppose bringing us on board? Because I think I'd always said I didn't really want to work for my dad. When I left school.
Well, obviously because I'd had the experience, and previously we spoke about getting the sack. Your dad's sacking you, which isn't clever, is it really? It's not great.
Yeah.
So I'd always got that in the back of my mind, and having when I first got involved with flooring. And because I knew that the general relationship between installers in the flooring business was one of having, you know, too many wives, lots of divorces and that, and I thought, I don't want these for the lads, you know, let them go and do their own thing, which you did.
Yeah.
You know, you did your plumbing, Tom went and did his chipping. It was then the circumstances that came round whereby then you both end up joining the business and being key members to this business.
Yeah.
You know, with you then taking it on, Tom obviously looking after the lads and all sorts. And the business grew again, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
All of a sudden, it grew again.
Yeah, it did.
You know, Tomo then being out on the road, joining up with teams with James, and then moving on. They were our key team, weren't they, that we put out there? And you remember the days of how much carpet we used to cut. I mean, you cut loads now.
Yeah, we do,
but those days of cutting, sit. We'll have 10 minutes. Have a cup of tea. Let's do another 10
Yeah,
rolls, and it was
crazy.
It was one after the other. This production line.
Me, you, and Andy, wasn't it?
Andy, because Andy joined us, didn't he?
Yeah. Glover.
Yeah, he's in Scotland now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Scotland now. Yeah. But he, again,
and he could
absolute soldier.
I suppose that's sort of, for me, it was disappointment when Andy didn't want to be. When he went and said he didn't want to be part of it.
He needed to do what he needed to do, and it's a shame because me and Andy, like, we've totally distanced now. Like we don't speak in that,
which is really strange.
I think all the shit that happened with Tomo, and I never spoke to him. He never asked me.
No, I know.
And and I suppose that's where that led. But I had not bad word to say about that kid.
Oh no,
regardless our friendship disappeared.
Yeah,
what he did for the business through that period was...
Well, he'd just jump in the van and go anywhere, wouldn't he?
Oh, he was epic.
Well. He was just...
And, and we got to be in at 3 a.m.
That's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
We got to stay till 10 o'clock tonight. Yeah, no worries.
But that's the sort of people...
And then he wanted to commit then to his missus. And I respect that.
Yeah. It was sad for me because I felt he'd put in the effort to be part of it.
Yeah, and he'd still be in now.
Yeah, he would.
He would still be here now if he hadn't made that decision for himself.
Yeah, and good luck to him in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to him. Yeah, great lad. Yeah. But either way, he's done. He's now doing his own thing, isn't he?
Yeah, good lad.
And so I suppose looking back as that whole period unfolded, you teaching me, everything that you knew, and me sitting with you every night.
Well, you wanted to, though. Yeah. You wanted to learn. And so as a result, it was giving you, because, hang fire, I'm getting an older git. I need, the lads have come in, let them now start to take some of the reins and all sorts, and take us in different directions, as you introduce more computers, usually when I've gone on holiday, and then all of a sudden come back, and there's a new desk.
Well, I think that was me and Tomo.
Oh, bloody hell. I didn't go away
with
that.
It looked great, though.
Oh, it looked great, but how much did it cost?
Where's all the other stuff gone? Where's the old stuff? It's got in the fucking
all the stuff that I've loved and hugged, It's in the skip, Dad. Great. Thanks, lads.
And I suppose looking back at that time, when we were actively trying to grow the business, do you have any regrets there at all of ever bringing us in?
No. I think it was the best thing at the time for the business. You then moved the business into a new era.
Yeah.
Both with your enthusiasm, but also with the bringing in the tech, which obviously I was very reluctant to do. Even to have a new phone system was...
No, absolutely.
How do you use this? How do I transfer a call?
That?
What's that? How do we do that?
Yeah.
So, no, it was the right thing for the business to bring you in and to let you then start to take some of the reins.
And that was in in the 06, and then in 2014 we did the shares, and me and Tommy took a significant part in that, and had an agreement with you over a period of time. I think that was 2014. I've got on my notes.
I think it probably is something in that region, yeah.
So we'd been there 8 years, and was there any part of that? Was that the right decision? Do you think, looking back?
For me, it was.
Yeah.
If you ask Mum, it might be a different kettle of fish.
That's because you didn't fucking talk to her.
Well, I didn't tell her. No. So I have that burden to share for the next 40. It depends how long I'm here.
Well, hopefully for the 30, 40 years.
Certainly this year I've got to go in. But yeah, that was a decision that I made without consulting Mum, and Mum obviously still feels a little aggrieved about that. And sometimes I can understand it, and other times I said, it's my decision.
Yes.
I said I would make the decision. I believed that the lads were worthy of taking on this business and taking the major shares.
Well, I think your dad, from probably 202, something like that.
Instead of just giving you money.
It's not money, is it?
It wasn't about the money. It's about giving you, if you like, again, the driving force by Charles, Tom. Take this business, take it to the next level.
Allow people to grow in it, and they'll either do it or they won't.
Let them get on with it.
And I'm the same now. Like they'll either get on with it and they'll do a really good job at it, or they'll come up short, and that's fine, isn't it?
But you give them the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And that's how I felt with it all, and I felt it was in safe hands.
Yeah, and I suppose looking at that, what was the I suppose the downside of it, you know, there's always going to be a downside, isn't there? You know, once you get to a certain point, you know, where we were as a business, you know, we continued to grow. We bought HQ1, hadn't we, at that point?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, that was a bit of a torturous thing, but it was the right thing. It wasn't again, and that was really again you two lads saying we need more space, Dad. We need to move this on. This is, you know, we can't stay stagnant.
Yeah,
and you're quite right. And I think business, you have to reinvent yourself all the time. You can't stay still.
But family business is tough, isn't it?
It is tough because we get the personalities. I mean, because when you're first there, we're going to scrapping in the office,
totally.
you know, right up to, you know. So yes, because it's the passion coming out, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
You want it to work,
and,
you've got opinions, and you're going to air those opinions, and you should do.
And they're hard to manage, though, aren't they? They're moments, you know, they're hard to manage.
Yeah.
You know, they're
family businesses are always going to be difficult, because of what
and
happens.
Not just for us, but for the fucking people around us.
Everyone works for it because,
you know, they're in it, aren't they?
They are.
Like, Jesus Christ, you can't talk to him like
that.
And
you can't, and the thing is, you end up taking the difficulties, the strain of business, which it is, but you take it home with you. And so, and you know now with Stacey being very much a big part of this business, how the little time you have together, and if it is, you're talking about bloody work.
Yeah, great.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's right. It's right.
So it's tough.
Yeah, and obviously you know that my relationship now, obviously with Tomo, he's absolutely zero.
Yeah, I know.
And that's sad.
It's very sad because I think you both, you know, you both contribute. All your members of staff that we've ever had have contributed to where this business is now. And you and Tom,
including Tom.
Yeah, including Tom. When he was on his song, there was no one better down there to sort the shit out.
Yeah, he got shit done.
And he did give a shit.
Yeah, he did give a shit.
And so it saddens me that he's not now part of it. But he has been part of it.
He has.
Like going back to Peter, the same thing.
The legacy,
you know,
innit?
The legacy is there.
And you can't take that away, can you?
The people that have been in this business have contributed to where it is now.
Yeah, and that's what I've always said, you know.
Always grateful for that.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, isn't it?
It is.
And I suppose, you know, if you were talking to him right now, you know, what would be what message you'd give him?
Well, I'd probably hug him up.
Yeah.
Because, sorry. I do. I still feel sad. Sorry.
It's okay.
About what went on. We did it right for the business.
Yeah.
And we've done it right by him, but he can't see that at this moment in time.
Right, cool. But that doesn't change the.
It doesn't.
We love him.
I still love him. We haven't spoken for a while. But
yeah, and I'll always love him.
I know you will.
He's me bro.
I know you will. I know you will. I'm sorry, it's a bit of a difficult subject, isn't it, when it comes down to this? But no.
But that's family business.
We
and people listening in.
Yeah.
You know, that is
part of it.
You have to make
breakup.
Calls that we have to make to protect our culture and protect what we built. Yeah. You know, and unfortunately that was tough, wasn't it?
I think in his reflection times, I'm sure that he would say it was the right thing. We believed it was the right thing.
He needed change. He needed change in his life. And
to try and pull him round
and
to the person that he was.
Yeah, and I don't know who he is now. You know, I don't know who he is now. But like either way, you know, that at that time, that's what he needed. Yeah.
But he'll always go down as being a key member, as everyone that's worked for this firm. Yeah. When people have moved on, haven't they?
Yeah.
Whatever they've done, they've moved on. They've all contributed in their own way to make this business is to where it is today.
Yeah, and I suppose as you know, Christmas approaches, you know, it's a time of focus and on family, and particularly, you know, without Nan and Grandad being here, and if I suppose, you know, they're looking down and having a look at us and saying, you know, have they got on, and you know, as a family, you know,
I think they'd be
how
very
do you
proud.
think they'd feel?
I think they'd
what do
be very proud.
What do you think they'd say about it all?
Well, I'd think that they certainly would be very proud of what we've achieved. They loved us dearly. You know, they're not here with us now, but they are around us, and they do help. You know, there's times when you sit and reflect, and there's sometimes that, and I know you have. We go up the cemetery, we go up the Cram, and we sit. And you might.
Whenever I'm that neck of the woods, I don't miss an opportunity.
Because they contributed to our lives.
Yeah.
And anybody that's done that it makes you the person that you are today. Totally. And for that, as I say, I'm eternally grateful.
And what do you think they'd want for us now? You know, knowing the history and
I think
hopes for the family. What do you think they'd
I
want?
think they'd like us to be all the family again. I think
Yeah.
the family's got fragmented. But I think they would also understand that you have to, if people are making your life sad and uncomfortable, those people have to be out of your life.
Yeah.
And
that's just-
it. Whether it's family
It's
or
hard.
friends.
Totally.
Yeah. If you know,
You got somebody toxic in your life. They've got to go in there.
they have.
And it doesn't matter who they are.
Yeah.
'Cause
And that
that
accounts that not only for this business, but that counts for life.
That's
generally.
life.
It is.
That is life.
Very much.
I live by that.
Yeah, very much so.
And what kind of legacy do you hope to leave, you know, personally, professionally, given, you know, everything and all of your experience, you know?
Well, I think for me, as this podcast is being portrayed, you know, I've always liked people. I've always got on with people. I'm trusting that when I'm gone, people will still think of me as their mate, that I contributed to their lives.
Yeah. 100%.
Somewhere down it.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of me comes into what they now see in their lives, and I just think I'm hoping they'll just say, well, yeah, he was a nice lad.
That's nice. Knowing what you know now and being in, you know, family business majority of your life,
Yeah.
you know, what would be the top 3 things that you'd say pay attention to?
Blimey. I mean, I can't honestly say what those 3 would be, Charles. I think that for me,
Family business.
family business
It's hard, isn't it?
is very difficult.
But what would the top 3, when you really think about it, like what would you need to pay attention to when you're running a family business? What do you really need to?
Well, trying to keep the family together.
Yeah, no, that's a big one, isn't it?
Keeping that family together when the strains of business pull you in different directions.
Open conversation.
Yeah, that's very key.
Raw, honest.
Yeah, and it should be, because it's the only way that your business, as a family business, is going to survive if you're honest.
Yeah.
You tiptoe around it. Sadly, I did that for a long time. That's what isn't good. You need to make those good and bad, those decisions, those difficult ones need to be made.
Yeah.
So just be honest.
Just be honest.
Honest.
And I think, you know, for me personally, you know,
Yeah.
whatever the future is and whatever that looks like, you know,
Yeah.
I'll always thank you for everything you've done for me.
It's what you've created, Charles. I've always been here for you. You know that.
No. Well, without you, I'd have never done what I've done.
I'm sure you would, because you're a great bloke. You deserve it, mate.
But it's raw and it's honest and it's difficult conversation.
You're
But one that I thought we profoundly needed to have to share our views on life and business and the journey that we've had and how that's been. And, you know, it's clear that, you know, if that ain't giving a shit, I don't know
What is?
I don't know what is.
No.
And so you've defined most of my life, and I thank you for coming on, and I thank you for giving a shit.
I do give a shit, and I do thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done for me, for Mom, and continue to do.
Always.
I love you, mate.
I love you. And that brings another episode to an end. And our listeners are, you know, if you found that episode powerful and thought-provoking and a bit of a giggle along the way, you know, please click,
Sorry we're girly-ish because we're crying.
click subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one for the hard conversation, and continue to give a shit and give me Dad a hug and tell him I love him.
I love you, mate.
Thanks for coming on.